Most of us have foods or drinks we love, and somewhere along the way they started to feel like a problem. It's exhausting when we keep trying to rein ourselves in, and it really isn't buying us much relief anymore. The treats we lean on for comfort quietly turn into another source of stress and frustration. And underneath that struggle is a comfort trap. We're reaching for a little pleasure and relief, never seeing that the way we're doing it is training our brain to work against us, to make real comfort harder to hang on to. In this video, I want to show you why that happens and why just a little of the foods and drinks we struggle with, that just keeps us stuck in the fight with food. More importantly, I want to show you how you can step out of the whole fight without spending the rest of your life breaking up with every comfort food one by one. I'm Dr. Ginny Trierweiler. I'm a psychologist, a health coach, and author of a best-selling book on healthy eating and weight loss. I had my own struggles with certain foods and drinks, and what I discovered about this surprised me. It isn't about getting better at coping with that comfort trap. You can escape the trap altogether. When I talk about foods and drinks we love that have started to feel like a problem, I'm not speaking in the abstract. One of mine was Diet Coke. It wasn't just a habit, it was my go-to, the thing I reached for whenever I needed a little relief in the middle of a hard day. And I knew it wasn't the only thing I needed to change. I had foods I binged on too, like chips and chocolate and adult beverages. But Diet Coke was the first thing I really tackled seriously because I kept seeing more and more in the research that suggested it could really be causing problems I wanted to avoid. So I decided to break up with it. And it was hard. I craved it. My mouth would start watering for it at lunchtime or at breaks. And I'd remember, oh, I don't drink Diet Coke anymore. And I missed it. What am I supposed to drink now? Poor me. And that internal conflict, fighting with myself back and forth, I want it, I don't want it, it felt stressful. I felt like it shouldn't be this hard. And it made me feel kind of dumb. But the worst part was I knew there are a whole bunch of other foods and drinks that I struggle with. And I worried that overcoming this struggle would mean I'd have to suffer with one stressful breakup after another. I pictured a kind of death by 1,000 cuts in front of me. One painful separation after another, each with its own withdrawal and its own battle, and a willpower marathon. Here's what I can tell you right now. That picture I had in my head was wrong. There's a way out of this trap that doesn't mean fighting every food separately, one battle at a time. I want to show you just how sneaky this trap actually is. It doesn't just show up with Diet Coke. The same comfort trap showed up every evening for me. I had this ritual of looking for really special meals at the end of the day, wine and rich food and desserts. I used to look forward to this very special dining experience pretty much every night. And for a while, that felt really nice. But without me noticing it, the experience really transformed. I'd go searching for that special experience, that big rewarding feeling, oh, this is so good, and it wasn't there anymore. And I kept feeling vaguely let down night after night. No matter how hard I tried to recreate it, more expensive breads, fancier cheeses and olives, a new restaurant, or the next level up bottle of wine, I couldn't get back to that feeling. It was sad and frustrating. Eventually, I recognized this experience from my studies of behavioral science and neuropsychology. My own system was protecting me from the excess. It read those special reactions as too much. This is too much, this is too often, and it started turning down my capacity to feel the pleasure. When I finally named what was happening, I thought this sounds a lot like addiction reactions, cravings, and building a tolerance, and then chasing a feeling that keeps moving farther away, and then feeling annoyed and irritable when I try to cut back. You don't have to call yourself an addict for this insight to be helpful. I didn't. You can simply notice when it comes to this food or this drink, I think I tend to experience an addiction type response. So that recognition is part of what showed me there has to be a better way out of this. Underneath that experience of reaching for it and not getting there, our brain is doing a very specific kind of protection work. Those repeated hits of intense pleasure from sugar, fat, alcohol, those things light up the reward centers in your brain. And over time, your brain turns down the sensitivity of those reward pathways so they're not getting hammered over and over. And then we have less sensitivity, and the same treat starts to feel duller. So we have this idea, I'm just giving myself a little pleasure, a little comfort. What we're actually doing is provoking a system that's trying to heal. It's like poking at a scab because it itches and making the injury angrier and the recovery slower. That's why for a lot of us, it doesn't just feel harder to get comfort from that treat. Over time, it starts to feel harder to get comfort and relief from anything. Our whole system has shifted into a more guarded, down-regulated state, and it leaves us flat and sad. And that is exactly what drives us back to seeking more comfort from the very foods and drinks that used to give us that comfort. So that's the loop we're caught in. And it's why the advice we've been given our whole lives, let yourself have the treat, just don't overdo it, is keeping us stuck in this loop. On paper, it sounds very reasonable. Moderation in all things. Nothing is forbidden. Just be sensible. The problem is we don't live in a food environment where that works anymore. A lot of the foods and drinks we lean on for comfort, they're highly processed, low in nutrition, and they're engineered to be hard to stop. They provoke exactly the brain and body response we just walked through. Big hits, and then more downregulation and protection, and more flatness, and more cravings. So when we apply just a little to those foods, it doesn't calm things down. It keeps the trap in place. Now, I'm not trying to say moderation is wrong everywhere. Moderation can make sense for certain tempting real foods. For example, I reacted pretty big to nuts and nut butters. So I took them off the table for a while until I felt I could eat just the amount I intended to eat. Some of my clients did the same thing with cheeses or fatty meats, genuinely nutritious real food options that can serve our bodies well if we don't overdo them. It makes sense. But moderation becomes a terrible strategy when we apply it to comfort foods and drinks that are engineered to be irresistible, to give us supernormal inputs, to be really difficult to stop. Those are the very things that provoke the excess response in the brain and push the body into that guarded, down-regulated protection mode. With those foods, using the same just a little rule, it's like using the wrong tool on the problem. It quietly tightens the loop we're already stuck in. We end up feeling like a failure every time just a little didn't work, and it's totally unfair. We need to let ourselves off the hook about this. We were set up, and then we were blamed for the setup. We end up thinking, I'd have to get better at managing this struggle, at having a little, wanting more, fighting to stop. We end up believing we have to keep this fight going forever and just get better at it, white-knuckling our way past the foods and drinks we love, as if a permanent internal battle is just the price of staying healthy. It's not true. What's actually going to help isn't getting better at managing this struggle. It's leaving the struggle, changing the conditions inside our bodies so we don't keep having this fight anymore, escaping the trap instead of learning to manage it better. So if the real goal is changing the conditions inside our bodies so we don't need that fight, the answer isn't to struggle harder, moderate better, get more disciplined. Those approaches just keep you caught up in managing the struggle. To step out of that struggle altogether, we change what we're asking our system to handle every day with a 1-2 punch. 1, make sure you're eating plenty of highly nutritious real food. Probably a lot more than you think. Most of us are not eating anywhere near enough of those foods. And 2, take your struggle foods and drinks off the table for a while. The ones you love, but keep trying not to overdo. Give your whole system a break from them. So many of us have found that this approach, done consistently for a while, changes the whole game. And I know the fear that comes up when I say take them off the table for a while. Because we've all been warned our whole lives that if we forbid any particular food or drink, we're just going to want it more. So we must have it, but just be careful not to overdo it. We've been told this is the way to avoid obsession. And many of us have felt that thing where the harder we try to resist a food or drink, the more it seems to take over our thoughts, especially when it comes to extra pleasing foods and drinks that give us a supernormal pleasure hit in the brain. The problem is those foods and drinks keep feeding the cravings. Our brain starts to value them beyond reason. It starts to search for them everywhere, and they quietly become way more important to us than we want them to be. And when we try to take one off the table without changing the conditions underneath, something sneaky happens. You might have experienced this if you did like a 30-day break from alcohol and found you started eating a lot more sweets. Or if you took a break from sugar and started having so much more bread and crackers and pasta and chips. It can feel like anytime I stop one thing, something else rushes in to take its place, like I can't win. We end up feeling like we failed. But the truth is, our system never got the break and the nourishment it needed when we took that thing off the table. We were still trying to live inside the same craving circuitry, just with a different stimulus sitting in the spotlight. The craving system stays busy, and it feels like nothing really changed. So if you find yourself struggling with certain foods or drinks, it does really help to see what's going on here. That cultural message of never say you can't have anything, just try not to have too much. It sounds reasonable, but in reality, it's keeping a lot of us trapped. We stay busy managing the struggle instead of changing the conditions that create the struggle. In research, what we find with that forbidden fruit reaction, now I want it more than ever, it mostly happens when we're told we can't have something, or we feel forced to say no without a really good reason. Someone is taking our choices away. Or we're telling ourselves, I'm not allowed to have that, poor me, and we are white-knuckling our no while still believing we need that thing. That's when the pushback kicks in. What I'm talking about doing is different. It's you choosing for your own reasons to give your body a break, a real breather from those struggle foods and drinks that hijack your reward system. You're not being told you can't. You're deciding, I choose not to. I don't want to live in this struggle anymore. And that kind of self-chosen break tends to feel empowering and wise and relieving, the opposite of obsession. And when that choice is paired with plenty of real nourishment, important things change. That itchy, anxious, craving feeling, the one that makes it all feel like an emergency, that often quiets down so much faster and more fully than people ever imagined. We can still feel drawn to certain foods, especially the ones that are tied to social rituals or big emotions. But the raw, urgent physiological drive eases up. The whole thing starts to feel less like I'm fighting for my life here and more like I'm choosing what actually serves me and my life. And this is where it stops being death by a thousand cuts. We're not negotiating one painful breakup after another. We make one clear change in how our whole system is being fed. And it's exciting because it changes our whole experience. And it changes our results in big ways. Things don't improve just a little bit at a time. They move together because they were all being driven by the same underlying conditions. People start to enjoy real food more than they imagined. And taste is part of that. Our taste buds turn over about every couple weeks. And people are surprised to notice things like bell peppers and roasted vegetables start to taste really sweet again. Our whole system adapts in a healthy direction in how our whole pleasure and comfort system is working. So it doesn't feel like a slog. My clients eating the wise way that I teach, they tell me the same thing all the time. They get committed to eating healthy and losing weight, and they gird themselves for a hard process where they're going to feel hungry and deprived, only to discover that approaching it this way actually feels enlivening and wonderful and liberating. Because once you stop trying to moderate foods and drinks that provoke your system to turn down its sensitivity to pleasure, you get to start experiencing more pleasure again. And the back and forth of should I do this and shouldn't I do this stops. All the energy that was taking up starts to come back and we can use it for other things. That's why I'm suggesting you give your body a break from the foods and drinks that keep your brain's reward system in an overactive defensive posture. And feed it enough real nourishment that it can relax and trust you and rebalance and make everyday pleasure and comfort possible again. So here's the bigger picture. Eating enough highly nutritious real food and greatly limiting low nutrition, ultra processed foods. This doesn't just let your weight go down a little or shave a few points off your lab numbers or help you feel a little less symptoms. It changes the underlying metabolic conditions, the way blood pressure and blood sugar and inflammation all work. So whole systems are shifting together. And for many people, that doesn't feel like I'm feeling a little better. It feels like your whole body has finally gotten on your side, like you've gotten on the side of your body. Many of us find pain calms down or goes away. We have real stretches of usable energy that come back. And our weight is moving without hunger or stress for the first time maybe ever. It's a different way of living in our body, not just a tweak to what we've been doing. So it's about being clearly, intentionally loving toward your body and how you feed it, so it can turn around and protect you and repair what needs repairing and help you look and feel your best, not just today, but long term. All right, if you'd like help creating those conditions in your body, there are 2 ways you could start. If you'd like to talk with me about what this could look like for you specifically, apply for a breakthrough call. I'll put the link below. If you'd rather start by reading and really understanding much more of the theory and the full practice of doing this, my book will walk you through what all of this is built on. Once we take a break from the struggle foods and focus on fully nourishing our body, we can find a whole new relationship with food. Where we used to have this edgy eagerness and chasing and struggle, now there's a calm enjoyment, a peaceful relationship. If you find this kind of content useful, this kind of thinking is something you'd like more of, subscribe to my channel. I don't want you to miss what's coming. All right, I'd love to hear what food or drink you've noticed yourself chasing that you'd really like to stop having struggles with.